Hello, and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. Last time, shit's really starting to look particularly bleak, as even the mundane is starting to just crawl up. I guess one way to phrase it would be, it's like inevitability is crawling up your spine and you feel it on your back, and you know it's coming. You can look over, you can try to see it, it's not quite in view yet, but you can feel it, and you can feel it moving closer and closer and closer. That's what happened last time. Let's begin. We might have called it the large tent, but it wasn't exactly spacious as hospitals go. When I crawled inside, the scent of closely packed sedentary bodies was as thick as always. And today, the droning of flies filled the air was a more recent development. Apparently the smell of blood and pus had grown strong enough to prove an irresistible attraction. No matter how many flies we drove off or swatted, there's always more to take their place. The interior was unevenly illuminated by sunshine flowing in through gaps in the tree canopy. I could see Haruka and Sakurai lying at opposite ends of the tents, attended at their bedside by Captain Sakashita and Kazuki, respectively.
ほら、食べなさい。食べるのよ。それがあなたの義務。いいえ、これは命令よ。食べなさい。
Is this the only way you know how to do things, Captain? Captain Sakashita scooped some gruel out of the Sierra cup in her hand and pushed the spoon forward, but Haruka bit her lower lip and turned her face aside, rejecting the food outright.
食べたくないんです。そんなはずはないでしょ。まずいから食べたくないなんて、わがままが許される状況じゃないのは説明したはずです。食べなさい。
I myself had nursed Haruka-san numerous times over the last week. She never accepted much in the way of food, but the last few days in particular she hadn't eaten remotely anything approaching a meal. With both legs broken, she almost entirely was unable to move. Spending all day lying down would probably tend to reduce your appetite. And when you happen to be lying down in a confined space reeking of pus and dirt and sweat, hunger pangs might well be less of a problem than containing your nausea. The high fever from her fractures lasted 3 days, during which we were forced to keep her on a purely liquid diet. Even after her temperature fell, the most she could keep down was a light rice gruel with practically no added ingredients. And even that watery broth she sipped very slowly in small quantities.
お願いします。もう許してください。
Oh no. Haruka-san grated out the words through gritted teeth, her contorted expression begging for reprieve. As she squeezed her eyes shut, small tears spilled from the corners of her eyes.
許してって何よ。人聞きの悪いことを言わないで。まるで私があなたをいじめているようじゃない。
Oh my goodness, that is the last thing you should be worrying about when you hear that. The captain jerked back the spoon and noisily slammed the aluminum cup on the floor in obvious irritation. The porridge inside was surprisingly thick with rice, unlike our typical watered-down wheat soup. It was a legitimate gruel. Like, fine, you're in a shitty situation and you're easily irritated and you're already easily irritated before that. Fine, I understand why you're acting like this, but doesn't mean you should. Compared to the relatively healthy members of the group, the wounded need more nourishment to help their bodies heal. They must have been receiving preferential rations. At a quick glance, there seemed to be as much rice in that one bowl as I received in a single day.
むしろあなたは感謝するべき立場なのよ。それがどうしてそんな口の利き方ができるというの？
Okay, you're taking this way too far. Why do you think we're giving special treatment to invalids who can't even work? But before the next angry words in this sequence could spill out of Captain Sakashita's mouth, Kazuki, who had been silently cleaning Sakurai's stomach wound the whole time, finally interjected.
人が嫌がっていることを無理強いするのがいじめ以外の何だと言うんです？
Captain Sakashita turned to face Kazuki's back, glaring so fiercely I half expected her to pop a blood vessel.
今の私たちにとって この一握りのお米がどれだけ貴重か、あなたにだって分かっているでしょ？
ええ、もちろん。でもあなたは間違っています。
If Kazuki noticed the captain's furious glare, she gave no sign of it. Not even bothering to turn around, she continued treating Sakurai as she spoke.
こんな状況だからこそ力強くも絶対的な存在として甘い顔はできないと考えたのかもしれませんが、弱者を相手にいい人ごっこをしている姿を主張したいのなら、少しは他者を思いやる姿勢を見せてはいかがですか？
それはあなたのようにずる賢くやってみせろと？
そう、私のようにずる賢くです。おつむが弱い分、どうしても力押しに頼るのはあなたの悪い癖です。
Oh my, yes. Very, kind, sly, insincere Kazuki. Ooh. I mean, she's not wrong. Okay, stop it, Kazuki! The scent was unpleasantly human enough to begin with. I really could have done without the nasty cold sweat now drenching my back.
ここはもう結構ですから、ご自分のテントにお戻りになられてはいかがです？
あなたには後でお話があります。私のテントまで来ていただける？
まあ怖い。とても一人では訪ねる勇気がないので、天音を同行させても？
構わないわ。
As she spat out those words, Captain Sakashida's dark, angry eyes flashed over to settle on me.
ちょ、
Don't get me mixed up in this. Do not get me mixed up in this, Kazuki. Pierced by the captain's loathing glare, I stiffened in the entrance of the tent like a rock, managing to respond only with a terrified gulp. Maybe she realized how awkward I felt about the whole thing, maybe not. Either way, Captain Sakashida gave a little snort, then pushed right past me and out of the tent.
カズキ。なーに？情けない声を出さないでちょうだい。それより薬草はどうしたの？積んできたけど。
And I quickly opened the mess kit I'd been carrying. At some point, the snails I'd captured had glued themselves to the opposite side of the lid.
ありがとう。
Kazuki grabbed a number of chameleon plants, leaves from the aluminum cooker, crumpled them up in her hand, and deftly began to apply them in the area around Sakurai's wounds.
少し染みますか？
少しだけ。でもかゆいよりは痛い方がまだいいわ。いつもありがとう。
薬草を積んできたのは天音です。
スオさん、ありがとう。いえ、どういたしまして。
Sakurai-senpai was placid and soft-spoken as always. Even in the fairly tomboyish basketball team, she'd been generally admired as the greatest beauty in the group. I didn't know the exact details, but apparently, her father was a famous stage actor and her mother a former idol singer. Born to two such people, it was perhaps unsurprising she turned out as lovely as she did. Against such a contrast, the ugly, jagged wound across her abdomen and its crude stitches were all the more painful to look at.
はい、終わりましたよ。テントの外に出て日に当たってください。
お世話になりました。
The presence of the wound must still have been a source of unease, if not discomfort to her. As Sakurai slowly rose from the ground, her hand softly traced the gash from above the freshly applied bandages. With a brief polite bow to Kazuki, she quickly crawled out of the tent.
こんな状況でも美人なんだね、桜井先輩。
そのこと、あまり本人の前では言わない方がいいわね。彼女、演技も下手だし、歌も苦手で、自分には容姿以外の取り柄がないって思っているみたいだから。
It's not like she needs to be an actress or anything like that.
褒めたつもりでも、結果的に彼女を追い詰めることになりかねないわ。
And then again, yes, I can imagine with parents like that probably is actually pretty high on your list of skills to be admired.
そうなんだ。
In that case, the ugly wound in her stomach must have been a considerable psychological shock. I turned around to peer out of the open flap of the tent. Sakurai slowly walked out into the distance. Her shoulders seemed to be sagging.
金田さんのように顔の怪我じゃなかっただけ幸運だと思わなければね。
To be sure, that would have been even harder on her. But Kaneda herself didn't seem particularly depressed. Maybe she's just counting herself lucky to have survived. I suppose she might just have been the sort not to sweat the small stuff. She didn't whine about the gash on her head, but by the same token, she wouldn't come to have the wound treated unless we called for her.
今はそんなことより、広岡さん。
はい。
なかなか気がついてあげられなくてごめんなさい。
なんのことですか？
あなたが食事を取りたがらない理由よ。
Ah, okay. As she spoke, Kazuki reached out for the zipper of Haruka's sans tightly closed sleeping bag.
待って、お願い、いや。
Wait, did something happen?
恥ずかしいのはわかるけど、このままにはしておけないでしょ？
Huh? Oh, you don't think... Kazuki's voice was far more gentle than I'd ever heard it before. Nonetheless, Haruka-san broke into painful, bitter sobs, like a child begging for forgiveness. There's about one thing I can imagine having happened at this point. She turned her head to the side, her gaze coming to rest on me, her fat teardrops rolling down her cheeks.
あまね、悪いけどお湯を沸かしてきてくれる？どれぐらい？バケツ一杯分。急がないでいいわ。お願い。わかった。
As I turned to leave, a sharp new smell cut through the stuffy air of the tent, and I finally understood the situation. Haruka-san soiled herself. Yep. That's the only thing I was able to imagine. Right, at the moment, she couldn't even stand up on her own power. Which would explain why she was refusing food. I mean, there's other reasons I can imagine it, but I can imagine the logic from that happening to her refusing food. She couldn't even stand up on her own power. With a little maneuvering, she'd probably be able to handle a number 1 by herself, but a number 2 would absolutely require external assistance. Haruka-san had always been the most timid and introverted member of our team. Even under the best of circumstances, she found it difficult to assert herself. She must simply have been too humiliated to ask for the help she needed. It has been days. How long? What was it, the 5th or 6th day? There's no way she... Ooh. In other words, she'd been refusing food for the last few days out of sheer terror at producing waste. It all fell horribly into place in an instant for the past few days. Words don't know. Oh. Her body racked with sobs. Haruka-san buried her face into her hands. Kazuki spoke to her again, a voice like comforting caress.
気にすることはないわ。生きていれば当たり前のことなのだから。
Slightly unsettled by Kazuki's uncharacteristic kindness, I hastily left the tent.
なんだよ、カズキのやつ。私にはあんな優しい顔絶対しないくせにさ。
You don't need that attitude given for you. You're not at a mental breaking point. Then again, you are getting much closer. Also, she totally was like that when you were like crying that time, wasn't it? All of a sudden, there's a complex and intense mixture of feelings. Unease, irritation, anxiety, and others I couldn't quite put into words, swirling unpleasantly around in my chest.
そんなに広岡が可愛いなら、あいつと付き合えばいいじゃんかよ。
Holy moly. This is... Oh, people. I hope you don't dwell on this. Hold on a second, Self. What did he just say? I mean, wait, what? You know, I was thinking I was jealous here, or, you know, something. Well, now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I really am a little jealous. But Kazuki and I are both girls, so, wait, no, what exactly is going on here? Sometimes pet dogs get all cranky when they see their master doting on someone else's, mutt? Maybe this is something similar? Yes, Amane, you are. The dog comparison gets even stronger and more literal. I knew it was downright weird for me to feel this way, but the irritation was real. It wasn't going away. Sorry, getting interrupted there. Maybe I should just throw my dignity to the wind and give her a nasty bite the next time she tries to give me a treat. Yeah, that would definitely be throwing your dignity to the winds.
あなた今変なこと考えているでしょう。
カズキ、何のこと？
私はあなたを一番信頼しているし、あなたに一番頼っているのは事実よ。私がどこへ行こうと結局最後にはあなたのところへ帰ってくるのだから、あなたはどっしりと構えて待っていればいいのよ。
Man's best friend, or in this case, Kazuki's best friend.
何言ってるの？
わからない？私にはあなたが必要だって、そう言っているのよ。あまね、こっちに。
なんで？
首のところ、血が出てるわ。
これはヒルに噛まれて痛くないから平気だよ。
Yeah, but bleeding's still a problem. You're losing nutrients, you're losing a lot of things that are vital for surviving.
血が止まっていないじゃない。そのままにしておけば何時間も止まらないわよ。
Kazuki reached her small arms up, drawing my head down towards her, and pressed her lips against the scruff of my neck. After briefly running her tongue along the area of the leech bite, she began to suck on the wound. Well, I don't know if that's the proper way to handle it. Nope. No, we're getting the weird thing again. Why does it have to be so pointlessly erotic? No. Yeah. Kazuki's lips are small and soft and kind of nice. This stuff is not good. Now I'm getting a weird mood. I'm in a weird mood. She sucked the blood and anticoagulant out of my neck until her mouth was full, spat it out, and came right back for more. I understood she was performing a medical treatment, but every time Kazuki's lips touched me, my body quivered. Every time she exhaled through her nose, her breath tickled my cheek, and strange little noises leaked out of my mouth. No. In a daze, my eyes half closed, I whimpered nasally. It took a good minute for me to talk as if I was sitting here by her arms folded, taking the whole scene with a smirk on her face.
やれやれ、随分と大胆だね、君たちも。
Yes, I agree.
違いますよ。これはそういうんじゃなくて、そうヒルです。
Yes, that's a convenient thing to forget at that moment. I'm on it.
私森でヒルに噛まれて、それでこれは血が止まらないから、そのカズキが。
何？別に責めているわけじゃないよ。愛情には様々な形があってしかりだと私は思っているしね。
だからこれは別に愛情とかそういうことじゃなくて治療ですよ。
治療だって愛情だろ。君、誰に何の言い訳をしているんだい？
あまねをいじめると楽しいのは理解できますけど、それはペアである私の特権です。あまりあまねをからかわないでください、佐久間先輩。
横暴だな。あまねはみんなのあまねだよ。
そう思うのは勝手ですけどね。それで私のあまねに何かご用でも？
意外と独占欲が強いな君。まあいいさ。トイレを作るんだろ。さっき部長が来て手が空いているものがいたらあまねを手伝えって言われてきたんだよ。
Huh.
助かります。
いいさ、どうせ暇だしね。することがないと落ち込むばかりだ。
Yeah, okay. Well, do we have enough shovels to work as a group? We don't want to overexert ourselves making it. Like, you could have people claw at the ground in order to make the inevitable hole that we're gonna be dropping deuces in. But, you know, probably want to use shovels to minimize the effort and energy expended by it.
これは私だけかもしれないけど、体を動かしている方が苦痛を感じないし、何もしないでいる方が疲れるんだよ。
Great. You're also probably expending more energy, so you're gonna be one of the earlier ones to die, yeah?
というわけで、鋼を借りていくよ。悪いね、風見。
わかりました。くれぐれも大切に扱ってくださいね。
カズキ、
いいんだよ。いつもそばにいる便利な女だと思われていると苦労ばかりが増えるよ。たまには距離を置くのも悪くはないさ。ほら、行くよ。
はい。
The last few days, both Captain Sakashita and Mr. Ochi had been absent from the camp more often than not. They're supposedly investigating the forest, but we hadn't gotten much specific information about what that involved. We haven't really even talked to Mr. Ochi for like forever and a half, haven't we? With our teacher, the team's official figurehead, and the captain, its true leader, both absent, the majority of the group looked to Kazuki for orders. To be perfectly honest, there were a considerable number of people who openly scowled at the idea of accepting instructions from an arrogant, sharp-tongued freshman, but by nature, people turn to competence over formal authority in times of crisis. It was simply a fact that our efficiency as a group increased when the command of the camp passed from Captain Sakashi to Kazuki. She carefully assessed everyone's personality and skills and assigned them appropriate jobs, placing a moderate responsibility on everyone's shoulders. Through her consistent distribution of tasks, we all had naturally become aware of our roles, quickly learning to bring certain tasks to certain people without her direct intervention. She'd created a framework that enabled us to be productive. This toilet construction operation was a good example. Kazuki didn't stand on the sidelines directing us, but her initial planning divided us into our teams. One group dug the hole, one group repurposed a chair from the bus into a seat, and one group focused on creating a sturdy roof that wouldn't leak in the heavy rain. She designed a clear procedure for the job, with logical, easy-to-remember steps, carefully tuned to compensate for our small number of workers. By following her instructions, we managed to finish the job rather quickly. How many tents do we have? I know it's probably not easy to deal with rain and such, and make a structure that's capable of withstanding it at the very least. But one of the problems we recently had was everything getting soaked in the rain, even in the tents. I wouldn't, like, particularly object to the idea of making, well, actually, if we made roofs for other people, just knowing how it would be, one of them would collapse and, you know, kill someone just by falling on them. Funny. The complete toilet wasn't much to look at, granted. In fact, it was unmistakably a ramshackle hut slapped together by novice carpenters, but it was functional enough. A particular note was our makeshift septic tank, filled with gasoline extracted from the bus. As an effective countermeasure against flies, maggots, and other pests, it helped erase our concerns about creating a hub for transmitting disease. Oh, that's what she was talking about. Okay. If Kazuki hadn't been there, I doubt we could have come up with that idea, much less implemented it. I don't know that much about how septic tanks normally work, so... Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and keep not knowing how they work. Given such clear displays of competence, even those who dislike Kazuki on a personal level were growing increasingly reliant on her leadership, although in some cases only crutchingly and out of necessity. As the sun declined in the west and the fierce heat of humidity began to die down, I set about making weed soup using our meager allocation of rice and the vegetables we'd been able to gather in the forest. Today's job was far larger than it had been at first. For quite some time, every pair had carefully prepared supper for themselves, probably out of paranoia about the possibility of having some of the food stashed secretly away. But for the last few days, I had increasingly been assuming the role of the camp cook. I went along with the new responsibility easily enough. Since I've been preparing meals for the wounded Haruka and Sakurai all along, increasing the quantity to feed more of the group wasn't really that much of a hassle. I guess everyone finally figured Might as well just leave the cooking to the girl who grew up in a restaurant or, something. Probably another effect of Kazuki's emphasis on efficiently dividing our workload. As I struck a fire under the primitive cooking furnace we construct from moderately sized stones, the various pairs brought forward their mess kits, offering up all the ingredients they had on hand. Apart from the small quantities of rice and vegetables distributed at the beginning of the day, each aluminum rice cooker had a range of unidentifiable weeds and wild grasses picked from the forest. Today, there are quite a number of snails as well. So we can have, presumably, Kazuki shift through each ingredient before we use them. Make sure people aren't getting anything poisonous, or even mildly poisonous. Though, mildly poisonous. Yeah. Great side effects, like poison ivy, that sort of stuff. Probably not technically poison, probably not technically the right word, but whatever. Surprisingly, Komori had gathered most of the small, slimy creatures, an above-average quantity, although an extremely random assortment, of vegetation to boot. She'd taken her pet dog into the forest and walked a good ways in gathering anything that seemed vaguely edible, found her way back to camp without a hitch. Apparently the dog had memorized the way back by scent. That's actually pretty useful. After the first success, Komori made a daily habit of approaching Kazuki with random plants. She caught her eyes on such a trip, asking which might be edible. When night came, our short sleeves uniforms were, as always, in adequate protection against the chill air. Having finished our dinner, Kazuki and I set off for the large tent and half-forced Haruka-san to eat. With that finished, we made our way to Captain Sakashida's tent, as we promised earlier in that day. She was waiting for us with Koide-senpai inside their tent, where a small candle provided some dim, flickering illumination.
こんばんは。
Why do I feel like we're gonna get accused of something? Or Kazuki is. Kazuki offered a polite greeting, her tone of voice suggesting she'd just arrived fashionably late to a high society gathering. Captain Sakashida responded with a curt, "There you are," and glanced at Koide and gave a little jerk of her head, prompting her partner to leave the tent.
どうぞ入って。
Inviting us to sit with us sardonic, "Sorry, I can't offer you any tea." Captain Sakashida got right down to business before we'd even settled ourselves on the ground.
怪我人の様子は？
悪化はしていませんが、順調に回復しているとは言えません。
そう。
For one thing, Haruka-san's broken legs wouldn't have fixed themselves in a few days, even under ideal circumstances. And Sakurai-senpai's abdominal wound was healing very slowly thanks to her worsening state of malnutrition and absence of antibiotics to fight her infection. As an added misery, the intense heat and humidity left her with a painful skin condition. Even the comparatively lightly wounded Kaneda's health needed to be monitored closely given the poor sanitary conditions of the camp. For the last few humid days, she'd been complaining about her wound's constant itchiness. We warned her repeatedly not to scratch, but she had nonetheless picked up a troublesome habit of sticking twigs under her bandage and tearing at her stitches. Ugh. And apart from those who had been wounded in the crash, many of the healthy girls were beginning to show increasingly advanced symptoms of malnutrition. Faces were swelling noticeably as our vitamin deficiencies grew more pronounced. Some girls had begun to complain of minor ailments. Right, are we reaching the time where we said that we'd consider going physically moving? To be honest, we were past the point of monitoring the situation closely. It was slowly but surely crumbling before our eyes. Captain Sakashida listened to this summary from start to finish in silence. When it was over, she again answered with a brief, "I see." After a moment, she leaned forward to look into Kazuki's face and spoke. And for a moment, I disbelieved my ears.
つまり、彼女たち怪我人は無駄飯ぐらいというわけね。
それは
It's an interesting phrasing because a waste is always going to be relative. The relative nature of it is... It speaks to how someone wants to see a situation, definitely, but... Ooh. If anything's actually a slippery slope, there it is. With a start, I realized why Captain Sakashita had driven Koide from the temp. Whatever the circumstances, she was our leader, and in speaking those words, she had betrayed that responsibility. Maybe we all thought the same in some dark corner of our mind, but no one had voiced the ugly thoughts, and now the captain had coolly thrown it out into the open. She understood as well as we did that a quiet, crippling pessimism regarding the food situation began to spread among the group. If we were to continue on these meager rations, the currently able-bodied girls would eventually be reduced to invalids. Without adequate nourishment, our physical strength would be drained, sapping us of the energy to work. And with our bodies weakened, disease would spread all too easily around the camp. Simply by existing, the wounded were acting as a heavy drain on our precious supply of food. The presence was reducing everyone else's rations. Well, yeah, so was everyone else's. If we only had one person left, we could all live so much more easily, right? Right. Ultimately, this might soon give rise to more sick people, exponentially worsening the problem. When we weigh the lives of the wounded and the healthy against each other, the former will always be lighter on the scales. In this harsh environment, that pragmatic calculation felt all the more obvious. We don't have the elbow room to be handing our rations to those who cannot work. The captain's argument was coherent enough, and I understood that she had little choice but to approach our situation with conservative caution. But nonetheless, her words sounded like a betrayal, a justification for unburdening ourselves of a load that had grown troublesome to carry, an excuse to abandon our friends and save ourselves.
私にずる賢く生きろと言ったのは風見さん。あ
Don't
なた
feel proud of this. Oh my goodness.
ええ、確かに。でも、ずる賢く生きるのと弱者を吊るし上げて憂を晴らすのとでは意味が全然違います。
だったらあなたはその弱者の口を賄い切るだけの食料を持ち合わせているの？
いいえ、残念ながら。
口だけの綺麗事ならいくらでも言えます。あなたのいい人ごっこに付き合わされて日々体力を落とす部員たちの迷惑を少しは考えてみては？
Those spiteful words were all too clearly a deliberate act of revenge for Kazuki's insults this afternoon. Whether she was at a loss for words or too simply exasperated to speak wasn't clear, but Kazuki offered no reply other than a short, tired little sigh. I'd long before decided to keep my silence and leave this conversation entirely to Kazuki, but all of a sudden I found myself unable to suppress the need to object.
それはあんまりですよ。怪我人は餓死するまで見殺しなんですか？
そうは言っていないでしょ。
For the first time in the conversation, the captain turned to me. She'd grown gaunt in recent days, leaving her cheekbones so prominent that her eyes seemed to have sunken in her face. It made her grim gaze seem all the more severe.
配給の優先度を下げると言っただけで一切の食事を与えないわけではないわ。
That is... actually the most fair way to go about doing it without... It's still not a positive, but it may be a necessity, but it is also, yeah.
もちろん今後も適度な量を配給します。どうせ動けないのだからお腹もあまり減らないのでしょ。
それは違います。
There was another reason Haruka-san had refused to eat this afternoon, and with the construction of the toilet, the problem had been eliminated. We could simply help her to the toilet seat and let her leave herself in privacy, removing the biggest psychological roadblock to her recovery.
いいのよ、アマネ。部長の言い分も決して間違いではないのよ。
でも、
広岡さんには私の分の配給を分配します。
No, that's just asking to not be someone who survives.
それなら文句はないでしょ。
なぜ私に確認するのかしら。あなたの食料なのだからあなたが勝手にすればいいわ。
ではそうします。
Kazuki leaned forward in a very slight bow as she stood, lightly speaking the words, "Let's return," in my general direction. She abruptly left the tent.
待ってよ、カズキ。
はい、なに？
なーにじゃないよ。どうして何も言い返さないの？
言うだけ無駄だと思ったからよ。
そんなの、私は和樹のことだから絶対に食ってかかると思っていたし、いつもみたいに文句の一つも言って強引に丸め込めばよかったのに。
It's that she actually reaffirmed her. Which...
あなた何を言っているの？文句というのは相手の言動や態度が間違っていたり正しかったとしても気に入らない時につけるものよ。それ以外の時に口にする言葉のことは難癖というの。覚えておきなさい。
なんだよそれ。全然納得できないよ和樹。
言ったでしょ。部長の言っていることも間違いではないのよ。
だからって怪我人の食事を減らすなんて間違ってるよ。
だから私の食事を分けてあげるんじゃない。ノープロブレム。
全然ノープロブレムじゃないよ。忘れてるかもしれないけど和樹だって怪我人なんだよ。
分かってるって。
何をどう分かってるっていうのさ。やっぱり今からでも部長に言って考え直してもらおうよ。こんなの間違ってるって和樹が文句を言えば絶対なんとかなるし、言うだけ言ってみようよ。
いやあね、あなたの口ぶりではまるで私が何にでも噛みつくどこかのヒステリー女みたいじゃない。私だって。
そうかな。
Personally, I kind of had this image of Kazuki waving a battle flag and emblazoned with the words, "We must correct the world," on some vague battlefield. Then charging forth at the head of the vanguard, all John Leoc style, leading a glorious crusade across a mistaken, riddled, modern age.
私ほど間違いに寛大な女はいないわよ。考えてもごらんなさいな。私が坂下部長に、あなたなぜ生まれてきたのと質問しているところを見たことがある？
Wow.
ないけど。ちょっと待って。今なんかさらっとものすごいこと言わなかった？
I mean, yeah. Wow. That, kind of sounds like an indirect way of implying that girl should never have been born to me. I mean, you could take it that way, or you could just take it as an insinuation that her parents had her, you know, accidentally. She was a quote-unquote mistake.
慈悲深くも寛大な私の資料を理解できたのなら、さっさとテントに戻りましょう。そろそろ眠くなってきたわ。
和樹ってさ、そういうとこマイペースだよね。
You know, you could call it tolerance and charity, but actually thinking of people in that way says a lot about, it definitely says a bit about your restraint, but it also says a bit about how you actually see people. How quickly you're, willing to go to that extent, that, severity. That's not exactly a positive. It was already past 9 p.m. I looked up through the trees to the sky, empty except for the bright moon and twinkly stars. The helicopter we'd seen for a few brief moments the second day had been absent ever since. I strained my ears, but heard only the chirping of bugs. No cars running on the road above, nothing. Why hasn't anybody noticed this group of girls right down here suffering so much? I was seized by the meaningless desire to scream for help at the moon, but I knew I'd only been making my throat hoarse. That early summer night, only the lonesome voices of insects echoed through the rock valley. It was the 7th day. The 8th day in the valley. Rain fell in the night and the morning was cold. My chilled hand trembled slightly as I wrote. Come to think of it, was there even a point in keeping this diary in the first place? Thinking about it would always drain me of the will to write, but I never found an excuse to quit either. My pen moved mechanically across the pages. The point is so that we could have this framing device later on in how Yuuji gets the information. Yep. Fortunately, the rain had stopped before today's morning muster. Perhaps I become used to the being drummed out of bed at the same time every morning, as recently as waking up naturally 15 minutes before 6. Yes, I do remember that. I have had a tendency in my life when I wake up at a very consistent time over times where I tend to like wake up like just before my alarm goes off. And then I go back to sleep. But still, for the first few days, it had been difficult to sleep at night because of my hunger. But by now, I was sleeping like stone. And fasting at night actually seemed to make waking up in the mornings easier. That said, getting out of bed once awake was growing increasingly difficult. I had no choice but to spend 15 minutes in bed, waiting for my blood pressure to rise until I could stand up without instantly becoming lightheaded. This morning, Professor Kazumi's tour of inspection proceeded, as usual. The valley was shrouded in a cold, damp mist. As we made our way around the examination line, many of the girls were swaying unsteadily at their feet, their bodies still not fully awake.
おはよう、いぶきさん。今朝の体調はどうかしら？
まあぼちぼちです。
疲れた顔をしているわね。私たちがここへ来て今日で何日目だったかしら？そう、8日目。今朝は寒いわね。昨日と比べてどっちが寒い？
昨日はそんなに寒くなかったと思うけど、むしろ暑かったぐらいで。
Was it? I don't remember that. Oh, no.
そうね。お母様はお元気？今年でおいくつになられたのかしら？
Yeah, she's obviously testing their memories. Yeah, it was humid, right? Because of the rainfall and whatnot, yeah?
何急に？
いいから教えてくださらない？
母は、多分元気。今年で42歳。
この子の名前は？
Kazuki grabbed my arm and pulled me over.
あまね。
So I'm assuming she's going into more detail with Ibuki because she has the worst signs, yeah?
名字を教えてくれる？スオーよ。だいぶ疲れが溜まっているみたいね。無理もないわ。私たちがここへ来て今日で何日目だったかしら？考えるのが面倒になった？でも考えて、今日は何日目？あらびっくり。ウェルニッケ脳症かしら？チアミン不足ね。
Smiling brightly, Kazuki leaned over and softly whispered in my ear.
今から言うことをメモして。
I hastily brought my pen to the memo pad. Chronic Wernicke's encephalopathy. Encephalopathy. Chronic Wernicke's encephalopathy. Symptoms of Korsakoff's dementia. Serious thiamine vitamin B1 deficiency. We knew it was a vitamin deficiency, but it had grown serious. But that diagnosis wasn't much good to us. We didn't have any needles, and more importantly, we didn't have any direct dietary supplements to fill them with. Of course, a dietetic regimen with lots of pork, liver, and milk could have done the job just as well, but we didn't have enough food to satisfy even our basic caloric requirements. The only thing we could do for Ibuki was give her an encouraging thump on the shoulder.
耐えろ!
And express the hope her youthful resilience would pull her through. None of this was limited to Ibuki Haruna either. The majority of the group was beginning to suffer from vitamin deficiencies. Light fever, joint pain, shortness of breath were widespread. After our standard round of inspections came to an end, everyone dragged themselves right back to their tents. The morning was unpleasantly cold, and the pervasive sense of physical exhaustion didn't help either. Nobody wanted to wander off in the humid forest where the chilly fog hung thick as a cloud. By the time noon rolled around, the temperature had risen dramatically, and people began to crawl out of their stuffy tents in search of cool air. For another thing, we need to dry our sleeping bags and mats in the sun, as they'd grown damp from the humid night air and our sweat. Like the others, I pulled out the bedding out of our tent, spread them out on a long flat rock nearby. Naturally, I took Kazuki's as well. I began to beat the sleeping bags with a tree branch, dust and dead mites flying out in little clouds with every impact. My stomach growled miserably at the exercise. Just as Kazuki declared yesterday, she had begun to add much of her rations to Haruka-san's meals. Of course, this was being kept secret from Haruka-san herself. At this rate, Kazuki wouldn't last long. When I told her I was worried, she laughed off my worries with some cliche about starving samurai making particularly leisurely use of their toothpick. And then added that a leader doesn't need to eat, they just need to act like they're eating. The words had given me a bit of a start. It was certainly true that everyone was relying on Kazuki, but I was surprised she came to think of herself as a leader. All of a sudden, I heard someone shouting in a clearly angry tone of voice. My hand stopped in mid-swing. Sound carries well through the human air, and the bellowing voice of our team's advisor, Mr. Ochi, reverberated impressively around the rock valley.
盗んだのは誰だ? 俺の荷物から食料を盗んだ者は正直に名乗り出ろ!
Wait, what now? I didn't understand the exact details, but apparently someone had stolen food from Mr. Ochi's personal belongings. In the distance, I saw him lifting his rucksack high in the air. His face flushed red with anger. Glancing around the area, I found others who had left their chance fixedly studying the ground, carefully avoiding eye contact with the teacher. Kanei-senpai, so focused on scraping out the burnt grains of rice stuck to the corners of the cooker, softly mumbled, "What a joke," without even raising her head. I don't think anyone has the anger to be mad at, like, a food thief at this point. You think people are coherent enough? I suppose Ibuki was probably more severe than most people, but given another day, and yeah.
誰なんだ? 今正直に名乗り出れば処分を考えないでもないぞ。
先生の勘違いじゃないんですか?
そんなことはない。
一体何がなくなったというんですか?
それは
Were you stashing away a lot more food? I bet it's Kazuki, and that's probably what she's eating. Or she's giving that to Haruka. Mr. Ochi stumbled awkwardly over his words. From the looks of things, the missing food had probably been something hidden away instead of contributing to the common stock.
とにかくこの中の誰かが盗んだのは間違いないんだ。
Even now, his shouts bore the righteous, authoritative tone of a scolding teacher. But we weren't in the classroom, his students responded only with irritated scowls. Of course, I also furrowed my brow at Mr. Ochi's actions. No matter how much he bellowed, it was perfectly obvious the culprit wasn't going to come forward. And in doing so, he's planting the idea of stealing from others in the minds of all the girls who'd been honestly enduring their hunger until now. So if I get hungry, I can just steal food from someone, right? As long as I keep my mouth shut, nobody's going to find out, and it looks like everybody else is doing it anyway. The only thing Mr. Ochi was accomplishing with his tirade was sowing these dangerous thoughts in the back of our minds. Yep. That's why I wanted to make sure that the thing previously didn't come out, like, out into the public of the group, yeah? When the single carrot was missing from Koichi-senpai's tent earlier, Kazuki had skillfully concealed the incident in order to avoid this exact situation. Now it was all for naught. Yeah, I still don't necessarily trust that that's going to stay a secret forever, but yeah. Without a doubt, this problem would reoccur in the future. In order for people to live as human beings, 3 basic rules need to be respected. Don't steal, don't destroy, don't kill. 3 broad principles that define the minimum standard of ethical behavior. In our little community, one of those 3 had just been irrevocably broken. They say that liars often end up as thieves, but the opposite was just as true. When we become thieves, we begin to lie. Deceiving and being deceived in turn, we snatch the food from each other's mouths. Before long, accusations fly, thus become brazen, retaliatory. Fist fights break out. In the end, some turn to outright violence, attacking others, destroying their property, taking what they want by force. All trust is lost. If things were to reach that stage, it would all be over. None of us would survive. We would destroy ourselves over scraps of food. Kazuki had anticipated this outcome from the very beginning. That afternoon, I was in the forest with Kazuki, gathering edible plants, brooding on this morning's events. I'd long since lost track of how many times I'd asked her the question on my tongue, but I couldn't help myself.
ねえ、カズキ、私たちこれからどうなるのかな?
14回目。
Just today, or period?
あなたがその質問を私にした回数。
いちいち数えてるの?
この質問何回目だっけと聞かれたら答えてあげようと思って。
And Kazuki's reply, too, was the same repetitive phrases. always. What will be, will be. There's no way to know how this will end. She certainly seemed fond of it. Well, I know how it would end. Well, not exactly, but I know who'll survive. If you want the general dead or alive, what will happen? Yeah. That's been revealed at the very least. It's very interesting going through this and knowing what will happen. Having an idea of what will go down, that sort of thing. She certainly seemed fond of it, but to be honest, I'd always thought it was a bit of a non-answer. Certainly didn't make me feel much better.
越智先生は明日ここを出ていくそうよ。
出ていくってどうして？
Because he doesn't trust people and he wants to leave and go. Yeah, I could sort of imagine.
数日かけて周辺を調べて、なんとか下山できそうな目処が立ったそうよ。
Or delusionally optimistic. Apparently, having finally decided just yesterday to leave and get out, Mr. Oji had been preparing for his departure this morning. During this process, he noticed the hidden food had gone missing from his rucksack. Why doesn't he leave now?
先生が隠し持っていたのは、合宿の夜にこっそりと楽しんでいた晩酌で、ビールのつまみにと用意していたミニサラミだったらしいわね。
Huh, interesting. I wonder if he still had beer. That would make the descent down the mountain even better, yeah?
サラミか。
An Italian sausage, ground pork, seasoned with spices and cured by drying. Preserved food like that would make for ideal rations, as it doesn't go bad easily. You could slice it up thinly and drop it on a pizza, or maybe mince it and mix it into a big plate of pasta. Or just imagining the spicy, salty taste left my mouth. I chill.
誰が取ったのかな。
それは重要な問題じゃないわ。越智先生としては誰も名乗り出なかったのがショックだったみたいね。
そっか。
From the beginning, Mr. Ochi said that he wasn't really cut out for this job. That's why apparently he had simply had a hard time dealing with women in general. Given that his job involved corralling girls at the most emotional stage of adolescence, he found the experience immensely nerve-wracking at the best of times. And now, of all things, he was living under terrible conditions with a pack of desperate girls increasingly crushed under the pressure of their excessive expectations. Really, it was hardly surprising he wanted to make a break for it as soon as humanly possible.
先生がいなくなったら、私たちどうなるんだろう。
Less mouths to feed? What has he contributed? They've been investigating and they reached the end of their investigation. We don't need more investigation, at the very least. Hopefully he'll provide the information at the very least, so that if we go after him at some point.
こういう言い方は先生に対して甚だ失礼だとは思うけれど、体制に影響はないと思うわよ。
To be sure, Mr. Oji was never exactly a powerful presence. Even during our normal team activities, I'd always thought of him more as a cushion between the official authority of the school and the day-to-day management, which was almost entirely handled by our team captain. Still, we had more faith in him than that might suggest. He was an adult with legal responsibility to us, and as a man, he was better physically equipped to handle certain jobs. His presence here had been subtly reassuring in a way, allowing us to slip back into the comfortingly passive role of students. And while he wasn't much for stopping our fights, the fact that a teacher was watching acted as a significant check on our behavior. That is fair, but he also seems to be leaving at a point where people are just like... I suppose Ibuki is a bit worse. People might be a bit more aware and capable. I sort of feel like Ibuki might be, that's sort of like delirious thinking. If Mr. Ochi were to leave the camp tomorrow, we'd lose our only real, If Mr. Ochi were to leave the camp tomorrow, we'd lose our only real authority figure. Wasn't there a chance that his departure could become the spark that would set off a descent into something, well, much uglier?
不安だよ、カズキ。
大丈夫よ。もしもの時は私があなたを守ってあげるから。
Oh my. Really making some claims there, aren't you? You think she was an elder sister calming a frightened younger sibling, which is probably exactly what well she's delving into in order to speak like this, how she'd act with Yuuji. Her words were immensely reassuring, but also inspired something very close to shame. Felt as though I'd just forced another responsibility onto Kazuki's overburdened shoulders, out of nothing but a pathetic weakness. My face crumpled bitterly, and I could feel tears building behind my eyes.
もしもの時って
もしもの時はもしもの時。多くは想定外の好ましくない事態に遭遇した状況を指してそう呼びます。
これ以上まだ状況が悪くなるってこと？
Oh, there's plenty of ways that could happen.
まあ、なるでしょうね。でも心配はいらないわ。もしも何かを犠牲にしなければあなたを守れないという状況になったら、私は全てを犠牲にしてでもあなたを守るから、全然大丈夫。愛してるわ、アマネ。
Oh my. It's only been 8 days, FYI.
嬉しいけど大丈夫だよ。私自分の身は自分で守るから。
あら本当？実は私も自分のことで精一杯な部分もあって、そうしてもらえるとすごく助かるわ。
Kazuki was just affirming my own words, but for some reason it felt like she was abandoning me. All of a sudden there's a dull pain in my chest.
大丈夫よ。アマネは強い子だから。
That's right. I can't let myself That's right. I can't let myself stay dependent on Kazuki forever. I want her words to be true. I want to be strong enough to help her, strong enough to protect her, strong enough to be necessary to her. If I couldn't be strong now, I had the feeling I'd be weak forever, always hiding behind the protection of others, helpless and worthless until the end of my days. The 9th day in the valley. The morning of Mr. Ochi's departure from the camp was unfortunately a rainy one. He chose a good day, didn't he?
先生、どうかお気をつけて。
With the exception of the immobile Haruka-san, everyone gathered in the drizzling rain to see our teacher off. Mr. Ochi stood before us, a heavy rucksack on his back and passive to the water running down his glasses. Felt as though I was looking at a young officer about to head off to the front lines. As a matter of fact, there had been some vaguely sarcastic joke yesterday about him making one of those 1,000-stitch belt good luck charms the Imperial soldiers used to take to war. But no matter how unreliable Mr. Ochi had been as a teacher, everyone quietly recognized that he was now our only visible glimmer of hope. 10 members of the basketball team had survived the fall. Our bout would have come up a good 990 stitches short. Not to say that we sent him off completely empty-handed, although our gift was less sentimental and more practical. When the rain began to fall this morning, we hastily cut apart trash bags to create a makeshift poncho. These had been a virtual necessity on rainy days, especially before we constructed the toilet, so we had a hang of making them by this point. The poncho offered some protection from the rain while allowing free use of both arms. For a short time, at least, it would keep out the wet and prevent your body temperature from falling too dramatically. That said, in the end, it was a pretty flimsy thing. And on a cosmetic level, not only was it distinctly ugly, it made an irritating rustling sound every time you took a step. Nonetheless, Mr. Ochi accepted it with a sincere, grateful thank you.
では行くよ。必ず助けを呼んでくる。それまで、なんとか生き延びてくれ。
With those brief words, Mr. Ochi turned his back on us and immediately began to walk off. Lingering for a long farewell would have been a waste of daylight hours. Once inside the forest, the thick tree canopy would block most of the sun's light. We knew all too well how poor its visibility would be in the rain. Which would soon transform into a jungle, into a misty, unfamiliar labyrinth. Rain. Of course, some suggested postponing any action until the weather improved, but if we delayed over the rain, it felt entirely possible we'd keep finding excuses to put off that first step. Maybe tomorrow it would be too hot, or somebody would feel too sick. Before long, the sheer inertia would glue us to our comfortable sleeping bags. Because he understood that, Mr. Ochi made the firm decision to leave today, regardless of conditions. We watched him marching bravely down to the forest, unable to keep the unease from our faces. If we had little rising sun flags to flap around, we wouldn't have looked out of place in a 60-year-old photograph. But unlike the relatives of those doomed soldiers, our anxiety was accompanied by an undercurrent of guilt. We weren't afraid of our teacher's well-being. For our teachers' well-being, we are worried about our own uncertain futures.
先生大丈夫かな。
The words spilled spontaneously out of my mouth. Sakuma-senpai, who'd been standing on by my side throughout this little ceremony, glanced over.
まあ正直あまり期待しない方がいいね。
Sakuma's tone of voice was resigned, almost detached. The first to respond was Ibuki, who'd been standing at her partner's side, her limbs shivering in the cold rain.
私たちの食料半分も持って行ったんですよ。結果を出してくれなきゃ困りますよ。
He took half the food? Damn, there must not have been much food left, really. Hinata-senpai, who'd been scratching vigorously away at the bandage on her forehead, gave a little snort of laughter at Ibuki's words.
あれでも一応大学時代はテニス部だったんでしょ。体力はあるんじゃないの？
Doesn't really matter much when you're like out here with malnutrition over the course of a week. Next in line stood Komori's son, her miniature dog's face kept peeping out from the neck of her school uniform.
どうしてテニス部だった人がバスケ部の顧問やってるんでしょう。
Because he wasn't that good at tennis. At Komori's other side, Sakurai was pressing her hands against her stomach wound, bending over slightly to shield it from the rain. As the conversation seemed to be moving neatly down the line, she tentatively opened her mouth and spoke.
大学のテニス部って要は女の子目当てのナンパな男子が集まる部でしょ。冬はスキー部になったりする感じの。
Neat, I did not know that. Apparently amused to hear those words from the normally meek and refined Sakurai-senpai, Kazuki chuckled lightly at her side.
その認識で間違ってないところが悲しいわね。
Her eyes fixed on Mr. Ochi as his figure grew small in the distance. Kurei-senpai responded to Kazuki's words with an anxious frown.
本当大丈夫なのかな。
Now that he had set forth, there was nothing more we could do either way. It was in the hands of fate now. Sakuma-senpai gave a wry little snort. Lately, her prowess at playing cards had allowed her to push most of the chores onto others, and her attitude was getting increasingly reverent as her leisure time grew.
あとはもう運布添付に任せるしかないね。分の悪い賭けだけど、賭けってのはその方が面白いよ。
Clearly irritated by Sakuma's flippant tone, Captain Sakashita finally broke her silent vigil.
遊びじゃないのよ。くだらない冗談を言っている暇があるなら、他にやるべきことがいくらでもあるでしょ。はいはい、ごめんよ。
Sakuma's typically indifferent response earned her a brief, withering glare. After a moment, the captain turned sharply on her heel and stalked off towards her tent without another word. Giving a small sigh at this abrupt departure, Koide gave a light nod of acknowledgement to Kazuki, and then trotted off to follow her partner.
なんかさ、坂下を見てると、こういう状況でも怒鳴り散らすだけの人間がどれだけ惨めかって思い知らされるよね。
Ooh. Good thing you waited for her to leave.
彼女を見ていると、しっかりしなきゃって逆に落ち着いてくるよ。そういう意味では、いい反面教師だ。
You know, she probably thinks the same of you. Obeying someone simply because they outshout any voices of opposition is a height of foolishness. Over the days we spent here, the realization has sunk deeply into our very bones. In the moments like these, everyone's gaze was naturally set on Kazuki. They turned to a freshman, a small girl no taller than 150 centimeters, with the eyes of absolute trust. The 30 years among us were no exception. The vaguely rebellious Sakuma seemed to have concluded in characteristically happy-go-lucky style that, when Kazumi's around, life's a lot easier. And having essentially entrusted her life to Kazuki as a patient, Sakurai-senpai had even begun to politely address her with a honorific.
言い方はどうあれ、坂下部長の言葉に間違いがないのも事実です。寒暖じみた愚痴り合いをしている暇があれば、食べ物を探しましょう。
There's no changing the fact that we'd given half of our already meager stockpile to Mr. Ochi. From today on, our meals would be all the more grimly austere. Even so, he'd only taken enough food for 2 days, along with 2 liters of sterilized water in plastic bottles. For a simple estimate of the calories he'd be consuming and burning, he'd last 4 days at the longest. Although Mr. Ochi had estimated that 3 days of consistent progress would bring him to human habitation, we all knew perfectly well that he wouldn't be able to simply stroll straight through the forest. But he himself was probably more familiar that harsh reality than any of us, so we kept our silence.
ああ、この雨の中森に入るのか。
何言ってんですか。どうせ森に入ってもフラフラしてるだけで全然働かないくせに。
Oh no, don't open that lid.
仕方がないよ。私は貴族だからね。
Ah, yes, that's at least she's taking it in stride.
一つお願いがあるんですけど。
なんだい？言ってごらんよ。
一度本気で殴らせてください。いいえ、みんなのために単身森に入った越智先生に代わって先輩を殴ります。
それで君の気が晴れるのならそうするといい。あまり
だから髪に触らないでください。
Harshly slapping aside Sakuma-senpai's hand, and Buki stamped off towards the forest alone. Watching her partner go, Sakuma spread her arms, turned her palms to the sky, and offered an exaggerated shrug of shoulders to no one in particular. But soon enough, she followed without a word. All said and done, they were a friendly pair.
私らはどうする？
Fiddling with her rain, wet bandages as she brushed her hair out of her eyes, Kanade-senpai turned to address her partner, Komori. Staring down at the dog nestled against her chest, Komori-senpai answered in an apologetic tone of voice.
すみません。今日はアー君の具合が悪いみたいで。
You mean he's dying?
またかよ。なんかその犬、雨が降るとすぐ体調崩すよね。やっぱあれか？湿度が高いと前髪が決まんなくて超下げなんですけどみたいな感じになんのかね。
まさかそれはないと思いますけど。
まあいいよ。今日は私が行くからさ。あんたは犬と一緒にテントで待ってな。
すみません。
Kanade set off with broad strides, apparently trying to play up her self-signed role as the manly big brother of the household. Komori hurried off as well, leaning over the dog in her uniform to shield it from the elements. Well then, what about us? When I glanced over in Kazuki's direction, I was surprised to find Sakurai-senpai still loitering quietly by her side. When our eyes met, Sakurai gave me a gentle smile, then cocked her head slightly to the side as if to say, "Is something the matter?" Staring at her face, I couldn't help but thinking she was a good bit more beautiful than the average pinup you'd find in a cheap men's magazine. Okay.
桜井先輩はどうされます？
今までの恩返しもありますし、できれば食材探しに私も参加させてもらえればと。
Are you capable?
それは助かりますけど、大丈夫なんですか？
はい。お腹の怪我ももうだいぶ良くなってきましたし。
Yep, just in time for you to exasperate it, right?
ダメよ。
でも
I know she just wants to feel useful, but...
気持ちはわかるしありがたいけれど、今無理をすればまた悪化するわよ。桜井さんはテントに戻って広岡さんについていてあげてください。
つまんない。
食材探しだって別に楽しくはないわ。もともとあなたは体が丈夫ではないのだし、おとなしく私の言うことを聞きなさい。
Well, taking care of her would definitely be very helpful.
はーい。
Oh, no, 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 no!
今の何？
くしゃみよ。
でも今ペキュって言った
一見すると欠点が少ないように見える桜井さんだけれど、どうにもくしゃみが変なのよね、この人。
Oh, that's her only negative feature.
気にしてるのに。
いいからさっさとテントに戻りなさい。この上風邪をひいたりしたらまた私の仕事が増えるじゃないの。
はいはい。
Smiling sweetly, Sakurai patted Kazuki in the head, then obediently walked off towards her tent. That is, the large tent where Haruka-san was waiting.
桜井先輩、美人だね。
そうね。性格もおとなしいし、本当に欠点の少ない人だわ。もうお腹が出るような水着は着れないと思うけれど。
そっか。
As she watched Sakurai-senpai walk away, her thin arm shielding her stomach, Kazuki's profile betrayed a hint of sadness. Sakurai's parents had probably been planning to bring their daughter into the world of show business sooner or later. What would they think when they saw that wound across her belly? An ugly, jagged, dark red gas discharging pus faster than we could clean and disinfect it. Would they be overjoyed that their daughter had at least survived or hurt by their misfortune?
私たちも行きましょう。
そうだね。
When I stared down at the misty jungle, I could see the indistinct shapes of human beings wriggling into the trees in search of sustenance. We were stumbling into fog. Nothing to guide us, nothing but the unknown ahead. Clawing desperately for survival. How long would this go on? How long until fortune smiled on us? How long until we could rest? What will be, will be. There's no way to know how this will end. There's no way to know how this will end. For now, we just do what we can. For now, those words will still have to keep my feet moving, but I was beginning to feel that the limits of my endurance might be approaching. Even so, as Kazami Kazuki made her way down the valley, the only thought in my mind was to follow her. By now, I'd stopped even considering any other course of action. And that's probably a good place to end the episode. Oh boy, 10th day. Exciting. Okay, yeah. The inevitability is just getting more and more inevitable, you know, gonna happen. Okay. I will see you all next time. Drive safely, everyone.